evening. Welcome to the Candidates Forum for the 2017 primary election in Wyandotte County. I'm Merle Bland with Business West, one of the co-sponsors of this forum, along with Kansas City, Kansas Community College. Other co-sponsors are the Central Avenue Betterment Association, represented by Edgar Galasius, and the Historic Northeast Midtown Association, represented by Elnora Jefferson. Edgar and Elnora, along with Mary Rupert of the Wyandotte Daily News Online, will ask the questions of the candidates, and these questions are known only to those that are asking. Let me explain for the format tonight. Each candidate for the Unified Commission in alphabetical order will have 3 minutes for opening introductory remarks. Then the panelists will ask questions of the candidates starting in reverse alphabetical order. If the candidate has sent a representative, that person only will present opening remarks. Fortunately, everybody from District 5 is here. Each candidate will have an opportunity to respond to each of the panelists' questions. Responses will be limited to 2 minutes. Candidates are urged to stick to the issues. This is not a debate. Now for introductory remarks. For the Unified Commissioner, 5th District in alphabetical order, we start with John Fodovich. John?
Hi. My name's John Fodovich. I was born and raised here in Wyandotte County, grew up in the inner city. Back in '79, I moved out to the Piper District. I was fortunate enough, I retired last December, and I started paying more and more attention on our taxes. Well, you know, they can tell you, and I say these commissions, the mayor and everybody, well, we're going to lower, what I think we need to do is they want to lower your mill levy, which only amounts to about $1 per thousand of appraised value. But yet, when they reappraise it to 8 or 9%. So no matter what they tell you about that mill levy, it's kind of like a hoax because they want you to think they're really doing something good for you. But all they continue to do is raise your taxes. When I moved out where I am back in 1980, I think it was, my taxes were about $1,800. Now they're almost $5,000. And I know people that live out there that pay over $7,000 a year in personal or real estate tax. That is ludicrous. And they tell you that, you know, we got all this going on out here, but they don't really want to tell you is we're paying for it. I did some research. I talked to the gentleman at City Hall. I asked him how much the mayor and everybody is saying we got $12 million off the STAR bonds that have been paid for early, right? Yes. Okay. $12 million. But what they don't tell you is they also collected, this was from a gentleman named Mike Grimm, the CFO's assistant at City Hall. They collected $25 million in real estate property tax. And my question was, where's it going? You know, they've got all these projects that they want to do, but they never seem to consider about the people that live here. All they want to do is tell you just, well, you know, we're going to lower your taxes 2 mils, but we're going to reappraise your houses for 7, 8, 9% more. So what does that do? It just keeps raising your taxes, and then they tell you, we're doing a great job. We need to concentrate on lowering our property taxes to get people here. The only way you're going to do that is you got to cut all this wasteful spending and stuff, like $20-some million on the Leavenworth Road project. Concentrate on lowering our property taxes first. And why don't you put some money in the bank and build it up so we can lower our property taxes more? You know, quit giving the stuff away all the time. Thank you, sorry.
Okay. Mike Kane.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Kane, and I want you to know one thing right out of the gate. I'm a family man. I was raised at 222 North Thorpe in Kansas City, Kansas, in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with my 9 brothers and sisters, and my mom and dad, and sometimes my grandma and my uncle. I met my wife in kindergarten, and October 1st, we've been married 40 years. I've raised 2 kids, and both of them went to Piper High School. Well, they went to Catholic grade school and then to Piper High School. And I got 4 grandbaby girls. I've been involved in the community since the early 80s when we had the soccer program where the JUCO is, and they needed soccer coaches. I started volunteering way back then. And in fact, both my kids volunteer where their workers at. So I've done a lot in the community. I'm a retired auto worker. I worked at General Motors for 35 years. I was a union rep for 28 of those 35 years. I ended my career in the safety department, and then I was fortunate enough to be asked to go to work for Labor's 1290 where I do their PR work. My job puts me all across the state. I spend a great deal of time in Topeka, and I've been the commissioner. I am the senior commissioner. I've been there 12 years, and I look forward to serving 4 more. Thank you.
Sarah Kramer.
My name is Sarah Kramer, and I grew up in a small town in eastern Iowa from this wonderful woman here in the front row. I came down to Kansas City almost 20 years ago to go to Johnson County Community College. I ended up making this my home. My daughter Alexis here in the front row is an original dot. I'm very proud of that. She goes to school at Piper, and that's where we live. She is going into 3rd grade. After Johnson County, I finished up at Emporia State University, and I went to a CPA firm to work there for 6 years. During that time, I worked to get my CPA license. Currently, I'm the vice president of Belger Cartage Service, which is a crane and heavy equipment company. And late 2015, I decided to go for my Certified Management Accountant certification to be more well-versed in finance and budgeting. I'm running for the 5th District Commission seat for a couple reasons. The first is I want to be part of the next generation of leadership in this county. I want to help continue the growth that we're having here. I want it to be a great place for us, for our children, for our future generations. My daughter has inspired me to do this, and I want her to live here, raise her family here, and have many job opportunities. It is imperative that we keep this momentum going so that we can reduce our property taxes. We need to keep people here and also bring more people in. The second reason I'm running is I'm at a point in my life where I want to give back to the community. I think my background and my interest in this community will be good for this seat. I started getting more involved when my daughter started going to school. And this has helped me, this has motivated me to help in other areas. So I'd like to help other people. My plans for the 5th District Commission seat is to lower taxes, to build more homes, to bring more businesses here. I want to encourage small business growth so that we can keep those taxes here and we'll have more jobs for the residents. We need to tighten up the budget and focus on accountability for managing the budget. I will advocate for post-secondary opportunities and have access for people to go to those schools. I believe my accounting and finance background will be a great asset to the board, especially in budget preparation. I will make sure that our spending is efficiently used. We need to watch our budget and take corrective action. I'm committed to being a great role model for my daughter Alexis, and I want to teach her the importance of being community-minded.
Now we'll move to questions from the panelists in reverse alphabetical order, starting off with Sarah Kramer. And the first panelist to ask questions will be Mary Rupert of the Wyandotte Daily.
Thank you. In the last year or so, we've heard that people in the 5th District are interested in projects such as a new fire station, a new grocery store, a new park, more police protection. And I wondered for everybody, are you also interested in these projects? And if so, or are you also interested in other projects? And if so, could you rank them in order of importance as which one would be most important to you to work on first?
Sarah, you have 2 minutes to respond. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I am absolutely interested in all those projects. I think the new fire station is great. It will bring the response time down. The other things that I would like to see in the 5th District is more places for our children. I think we need to, I would love to have another library and a community pool, things like that. So as far as the order, I think public safety is number one. So definitely the new fire station, increased police force, and then more places, more services for our community, for our kids.
Commissioner Kane.
Could you please repeat the question?
Well, in the last year or so, we've heard several projects mentioned in the 5th District as possible projects on the drawing board, such as more police protection, a new fire station, a new park, a new grocery store. And I'm interested in finding out which one is most important to you, and can you rank them in order, and are there any other projects that are important to you?
When I was at General Motors, I worked in the safety department for 21 years. And we voted on the fire station in the last budget. And that has taken me a heck of a long time to get done, so the fire station is the most important thing. Just last Sunday, Melissa Bynum and I met with 2 groups, the soccer group and the football group, to talk about using where the old go-kart used to be down there off of 5 Highway, to see if there's some way that we could have some sort of joint venture between the 2 groups in the city to make that a football field, soccer field, a track around it. You know, I talked to Rob Richardson the other day about grocery stores. He said 2 people have talked to us about grocery store. One's more serious than the other. And my major complaint for one heck of a long time is we have no parks west of 435. And that's something I've talked about the entire time. The commission, when we were talking about it the other day, and in fact I asked for $100,000 seed money, even if we don't have a place to do it, so when we do find a place, we have money to put the stuff in there. So there's been a plan, it's been a plan of mine all along, and one of the things, we will still keep that fire station at 123rd Street. But what it'll do is it'll give us another paramedic, you know, out in that area. And I was hoping that we can announce where it was at. We're in the middle of the process of acquiring the property, so they won't let us tell you where it's gonna go. But thanks to the commission last year, and again, we brought it up Monday night, talking about, that was the very first thing we talked about Monday night was the fire station and how important it was to get it started. Now, they're already planning the fire station. You know, so there's a lot of things that are moving that you can't see. And I have always thought that we got the least amount of service and we pay the most amount of taxes. And that's why we've had these, a little bit of some crime a little bit lately. So I've asked them to increase their tours as they're going out there through the night. So a lot of these things are already in the works.
Okay. John Fodovich.
Well, I'll tell you what, first of all, we need more police, period. We've got just as much crime out here at the Legends as we ever had at Indian Springs, but the press won't let it be known. Believe me, I go out there every day. Also, we don't really need a new fire station. We've got one at 123rd. They've got property there. And they've got 59 acres right there at 7 Highway and Palford Road, the city does. If they want a new fire station, look at some of the property you already have. And then you could make a part of that, if you're gonna build a new fire station, part of it for like a mobile or satellite police station too, with a couple of places where the police can be there if they need to be. But, you know, I've lived in this town all my life. I see it happen, you know. They're having more and more break-ins every day in these housing additions out west. And I'm just being truthful with you. You know, there's a lot of people who don't want to recognize that, but it's just the truth. I think the police, we need some more police out in that area. Of course, we need police everywhere. You know, if they're short-handed and if we got the money, hire them. That's what we need. You know, public service is number one, you know. Fire department, like I said, we got one right there by Schlitterbaum on State Avenue. You know, that's fairly new. It was built when they built the racetrack. You know, and then we do have one at 123rd, right off 11 Leavenworth Road, you know. But I think they've got property and we're there. I mean, if you've already got the property, why have to buy it? I do know that. Mike can probably tell you. Don't we have 59 acres right on 7 Highway in Palford?
Yes.
Well, make that available. But anyway, and you know, there's some things that needs to be done out there, but I don't think you're ever going to get anything like a public pool and stuff out there because of the crime rate. And I'm just being honest with you.
Okay, now we'll move to Edgar Galicius, who will ask a question, and we will start with John Podovich. So go ahead, Edgar.
Thank you very much. We all know about large companies coming in and bringing jobs, but also taking their profits. How will you regenerate the small business economy?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you asked that because I just talked to the city clerk in Coffeyville, Kansas yesterday, and telling about how great this Amazon is over here. Well, they gave Amazon everything they wanted, and after their abatements were gone for 10 years, they've got a 1 million square foot building down in Coffeyville, Kansas that is vacant. Everybody they just pulled out. You need to support the people that live here, the small business people that have been here all their lives. You know, you try to keep the money here locally with the people that live here. You know, if you go out in the morning to Cerner, 99% of those people are coming from Johnson County. You know, you got to try to keep the money and the people here. You can't give the farm away like we did at the Speedway. They don't pay any taxes until 2027. You know, but yeah, you need to help the people that are here, and even if they want to try to help, you know, get a small business going, help them. Don't give it away to all these out-of-town companies because once they get their abatements, they're gone anyway, unless you give them more abatements. And that's ludicrous to me. Take care of the people that live here first.
Commissioner King.
Please repeat the question.
Yes, sir. How will you regenerate the small business economy of your district and the county in general?
Well, there's growth everywhere from all four corners. And we should support those that live here. And in fact, I think we should support them first. You know, one of the things that we have to do, and there's a stair-step process where you can say, all right, I want to open up a business, and this year I get this much money, next year I get this much money. It's a tax break. And we need to do as much as we can to bring as many of the small businesses here, because the more small business you're going to get, then the big business will just grow from that. And what it does, it gives some of our local people time where they can work part-time in certain places, maybe go to JUCO, and get going, because when you go to some of these nurseries around town, these are all kids that go to school in KCK, and that they want to get a horticulture degree so they can go to work for a place like that. And I think that's what we need to do is get more opportunities for our folks.
Okay. Sarah Kramer.
Well, I think small business is very important. That's the life of our community. That's our families, our friends. So we must do everything we can to support small businesses. There's a lot of great organizations, such as Business West, that are trying to help businesses, bring more businesses in. So I think if we partner with these kind of groups, the tourism department, things like that, we can help them. And there are incentives for small business. I don't know, I think maybe we need to get those more widely known so that we can help these people. And then also kind of a long-term goal for that is helping people get more skills in this community so that they can work at these jobs. I don't think everyone has access to these schools, so we really need to start start young and help people get those skills so that they can work in these jobs or even start a business of their own. So
Okay, now we'll go to Elnora Jefferson of the Northeast Association,
Okay, thank you.
and she will ask the question, and we'll start our questions with Sarah Kramer.
Okay, good evening. Although you represent the citizens in your district, you vote for and against recommendations, legislation, and so forth that affect citizens countywide. What do you do, or would you do, to relate to the issues and circumstances that affect those not in your district, so that your vote is a good vote for these non-constituents?
Sarah?
well, one thing I've learned as I started this campaign is that there are so many issues that I wasn't aware of. People have lots of great ideas. And so as I've been going out, I've been going to meetings, I've been talking to people, I learn what their needs are. So I think that in the commission seat, it's very important to be in touch with all areas of the county so that when something comes up, I can make a decision based on what's best for the entire county and not just my district.
Commissioner Kane?
Great question, because here's what I do. We get our books on Monday, and I'll drive around and look at the locations of where whatever they're talking about is gonna happen. And that way I have a clear understanding when the commissioner says, hey, I've got this going on, and could you please look at it? I've already looked at it. And although we get territorial, we still represent the entire community. So a lot of times you have to rely on the commissioner in the area and the at-large in the area. But it's our job to make sure that we know what's happening in all the districts when it comes to us or we make a vote, so we can make an intelligent vote. And I want you guys to know that these votes are not easy to take. That you have to sit there and you have to think about what you're doing and how this is gonna affect some people. And some votes aren't as popular as others, but sometimes they have to be made. And I've been there 12 years, and I've consistently driven across the district to make sure that I had full knowledge about what was going on in the other folks' district.
Okay. John Fodovich?
Well, one thing I'd like to say, I think that every commissioner in their district should have like quarterly meetings with their constituents in their district. That way they can bring up and tell them what's going on in that district if they can't get out and about. You know, that should be a requirement for every district, you know. As far as, you know, other things, I mean, you know, you can drive around and look at that, but you actually gotta take into consideration the people first and, you know, the areas. I mean, every area is completely different. You know what I mean? What might be good for one area is not good for the other, or the people. But, you know, the way you can control that is you should have this. I know there's several, I think, commissioners that have a quarterly meeting. Is Ms. Philbrook there? Okay, don't you have a quarterly meeting or maybe something like that with your district? Okay, but what I'm saying, that way you're letting people know in your district, and there's a lot of them that don't, because a lot of times maybe they don't want you to know. If you're gonna be on the commission, you should make everybody accessible to the commissioner. That's my feeling.
Okay, we'll ask Elnora to ask another question, and we will start with John Fodovich. So,
I
Elnora?
didn't do it.
Okay, sorry. Do you believe that public housing, multifamily housing, halfway housing, and so forth, that equates to mixed income housing and mixed populations, should be a county-wide housing plan?
John?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, you know, a lot of people nowadays, I mean, you know, everybody's different. There's people that are poor. There's people that are middle class or people that are rich. You know, you should be able to make it affordable for everywhere for these people in the county. It doesn't matter certain areas. You say, well, we're gonna put the trouble and the poor down here, But it all starts with the people and the parents at home, you know what I mean, to try to help their kids. Society is not responsible for a lot of people, Everybody determines their own outcome. But, no, we shouldn't have to, if people wanna be able to move out west or north, that's fine with me. I don't see a problem with it, as long as you abide by the law.
Commissioner Kane?
There are certain guidelines that tell us where you have to put some of those places, but the very first people we need to take care of is us. And where we've lost some of it is somebody says, well, I moved out of Wyandotte County. My goal is for everybody to move back to Wyandotte County. I don't want anybody to leave. And we do need to provide housing and all kinds of housing, not just fancy houses. We need to provide for the people when they start having families and that things are a little bit tight so they can grow into where they want to go. So we've looked at that. We have talked about that, and I'd have to find out exactly what some of the guidelines are. But yeah, I'm all for housing, and I'm all for good housing, not these places that are not nice, but a place where somebody can say, I'm proud to live there.
Sarah?
Yes, I agree with the other panelists. I think that it is very important to have that for all areas of the county. You just have to be, you have to follow the rules. For example, on the halfway houses, they have to be so far away from schools, things like that. So I believe that came up in a recent committee meeting, that they were trying to bring a halfway house in an area which had already has a bunch of those there. So, we don't want all of that in the same place. So we just need to be smart about it, about where we put everything, and have it for everyone in the community.
Now we'll move to Edgar Galicius, who will ask the next question, and we will start with Sarah Kramer.
Thank you. The unified government is putting more private properties in the delinquent tax sale than previously. And as you will be sitting on the commission, help us understand what you see as a strategy to deal with the blight and empty housing in lots and all this property that is available or in our county.
Well, I think the new SOAR initiative that the UG started is a great start. We must support that and everything that they do. And with every issue in the community, it helps to have a team to do that. So again, reach out to all these organizations to help with that. I think that the UG really needs to focus on selling these properties so that they can be developed. And then in turn that will bring property taxes to the community.
Commissioner Kane?
The SOAR program is new, and it's going to be a good tool that we can use. But in certain areas, one of the places wanted to pick up 4 or 5 lots for a parking lot for their church. And then some of the places they want to pick up and they want to have a garden next door, or they want to build a garage next door. So a lot of those come out of the land bank, and you get them for fairly cheap. And if you go up and down, just use Convero as an example, some of those properties were torn down and new homes are going there. And what I'd like to do is have some developer come in and say, I want to take these 60 spots that you're saying that aren't buildable, because some of them are very, very narrow. So you can combine 2 of them and build a house on it. And that's what we need, to find somebody that says, I'm willing to do this. And I think they're out there, and this goes into where we have our folks living in those houses.
John Vodovich.
You're gonna have to repeat that after listening to that.
Please help us understand your strategy or what you see regarding the blight and empty houses or lots that we have in Wyandotte.
Well, to me, the logical way is, if you got neighbors next door, offer it to them for a small amount, and just tell them that, you know what, you're gonna be responsible for it. You know what I mean? You're gonna pay the taxes on it. But if not, I worked the whole county, cause I worked for a utility company. 6, 7, 9, 10, 15, 20 lots in certain areas. I think they had a lot of community gardens on the northeast area a while back and stuff. But, like Mike said, and even Sarah, if you could get somebody to come down there and, for a reasonable amount, sell it to them if they want to develop it, that's great to them. Because, all this stuff is fine, but unless you have rooftops, that's where your tax base comes. The commercial stuff, you got some tax base for a while until most generally the incentives are gone, then they're gone. But when people build here, as far as houses, most generally they'll stay, So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Okay. Next question will be from Mary Rupert, and we'll start with John Vodovich.
Okay, well, if you're elected, do you have any plans or ideas on how you're going to bring different parts of the community together and how you're going to get along well with the rest of the commission?
Well, Mary, my whole deal is, and the reason I decided to do this is because I was sick and tired. Every time we turn around, we're being taxed more and more and more. We've got I could work with anybody, as long as it's for the good of the people. Like our pilot tax on our BPU bill, that is 11.9% of your BPU bill, and last year they took in over $31 million just in that. So what your BPU bill adds up, you figure 11.9% is added on to your BPU bill for the pilot tax. And that goes towards, that is supposed to help pay for all these ones they let come in here that are tax exempt. You and I are paying for that. As long as it's good for the people in this community, I can work with anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. But you can't continue giving stuff away and just keep raising taxes. Because what happens is you're going to have a ghost town before long. Simple as that. People won't say nothing. They'll just leave. And that's what we've been experiencing for a long time. People look at your neighborhoods. People get tired of paying the high taxes. They can go somewhere else and this and that.
Commissioner Kane?
Well, my life's like an open book. And one of the things I've asked for and have not got was I was at General Motors and I worked in the safety department for 21 years, but I had management counterparts. And we would have to go into a room and come out and tell everybody, here's your answer. And everyone would say the same thing. I've asked for a retreat so each one of us could get to better know our fellow commissioner and what makes them tick. Obviously, I'm the only blue-collar union guy up there ever, and that I think different things, but that doesn't mean I block everybody out. But I would like to know a little bit more about some of my commissioners so I know what makes them tick. When we come out as a group and say, here's what we decided as a group, and present this to the public's gonna say, hey, that's pretty cool. Instead of saying, well, I didn't agree with it, but I had to go along with it. And we need to unify ourselves first, and then we need to unify the community in whatever way we can. Because the most important thing, wherever we live, we all live here. And we need to think about that because we made a clear choice to live here. And we should like my block, we have block parties, and we have multiple kids and everybody's having a good time because you can feel the vibration about this is a great place to live. And I want everyone, wherever they live in Wyandotte County, to feel the same way. And that this is a great place to live. When we moved out west because my son was in a soccer club. And then we ended up getting hooked up into the community. I started coaching at Piper High School, and I loved it. I felt immediately when I got out there I was part of the community, which is what I want, and that's what I want everyone here and everyone watching TV to feel the same way.
Sarah Kramer?
Can you repeat the question, please?
If you're elected, do you have any plans or ideas to bring different parts of the community together and to work well together with the rest of the commission?
Yes, something that I started doing is I'm on the Piper Festival committee, and not sure if everyone knows here, but there used to be a festival and it stopped for some time. And last year they started up again for the first year. So I wanted to get involved with that so that we could bring the community together, because when I first moved here, it was a little hard to meet people, but those are the great ways to meet people. We also have neighborhood associations like the Leavenworth Road group, and in talking with them, they have lots of events. This weekend's the fishing derby, and they mentioned that they'd like to get more involvement from the Piper side. So there's always things going on in the community. I think it's a matter of letting people know what they are, and I think that social media is a great way to get that out there. And we now have the Nextdoor app where you can send information out. So again, just working together to do these things. I think the community is already doing a lot of that. So we just need to just bolster that up a little bit.
Okay, now we'll move to closing remarks, and we'll start with Sarah Kramer, and you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. It is time for new representation in the 5th District. It is time for new leadership, fresh ideas, new perspective. Our leaders should be held at the highest standards. They should have varying backgrounds and experiences. We need leaders that are professionals, collaborators, to be thinking big picture and to always be looking into the future. I am that leader. I am committed to continuing the economic growth in this community to lower property taxes. And as I mentioned before, I want to show my daughter that when you challenge yourself, you continue to grow and you help make a difference. I am committed to this entire community. I am all in. And besides my daughter, I'm hoping that my running encourages my peers to get involved. Maybe not necessarily run for office, but to get more engaged. I've been paying attention to the issues in this community, and I will continue to do that. I'm honored to be a part of this county, and I'm proud that I've chosen this place as my home, and I'm glad that I have been getting involved. I am confident that I can help contribute to the continued growth of this county, and so that we can continue to make it a place that we're proud to live and work in. So I'm asking for your vote for Sarah Kramer on August 1st. Thank you.
Commissioner Kane.
Just a reminder, the District 5 goes all the way into 72nd Street, so it's not just Piper. But in the district, if you look at 78th Street, all that's brand new since we've been there. They brought the casino in, 78th Street has been expanded, and there's more housing growth in District 5 than anywhere else. So, and they talked about earlier that it's growing. It's growing because they've got a good leader there. They want a good leader there. They want somebody to stand up sometimes and say no. They want somebody that says, hey, I get this. And they want somebody to listen. And one of the things I've done the entire time is listen to my people. In fact, I got an email the other day at 7:45 in the morning, and a lady said, I want to see you as soon as I can. By 8:15, I was at her house. Everything I do, I take serious. I constantly answer the phone for other districts when they call and ask a question, and I'm attainable. You can get a hold of me anytime you want. I've done a good job. I want to continue to do a good job, and look at what's going on. At 110th and Parallel, that was 5 or 6 houses and a field. Now you got all that growth out there. So think about what's going on. It's going good. Life is good. The district is good. The county is getting better. And I want you to vote for me again for the 4th time, August 1st.
John Fodovich.
Well, being I'm the last one here. You know what? They never brought it up, and I'm going to tell you something that really irks me about our 5th district. We had a gentleman, and I don't know how many millions of dollars he paid for, but that's the Woodlands. When that gentleman, Mr. Phil Ruffin, bought that, he went to our city commission and asked them, would you help support me giving just a letter stating that he wants to be able to pay the same amount on the slot machines as the Hollywood Casino. And as far as I know, because I went to the meetings, not one commissioner, the mayor, or anybody, and he didn't want one dime of taxpayers' dollars or anything. And that would, right there, would have created about, I'm guessing, 200, 300 jobs. 70 to 90 million dollars of his own money with no tax incentives, and we never heard about it. That's what we gotta, we gotta pay attention, because now that's a done deal. Now all of a sudden, when people are up for election, well, I was for it, and I was for it. I went to the original meetings. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. There's a couple hundred jobs out there sitting because our legislature and our commissioner would not go to bat for Mr. Ruffin so he could get that built. And it's just sitting there idle now. And it's sat idle for over 10 years now. And our mayor and everybody said, oh, well, that's valuable property. Well, when you got somebody who wants to spend 70 to 90 million dollars of his own money, that's a pretty good deal with no tax incentives. But anyway, that's just another thing, and I appreciate your vote on August 1st.
Let's give all the candidates a hand.